Okay, here we go. Ooh. Hmm. All right, and we're live. That's good. We're going to be on the air in another about 70 seconds. We're going to go live with the Ralph Peterson radio show. At exactly 2:02:30 is the time that we are going live. Mr. Bill is the program director, and he is in the chair. Here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ralph Peterson radio show. I am your host, Ralph Peterson, and we have another big show for you today. It is so jam-packed. So, as always, as I say each and every week, make sure you are strapping in, locking it down, put on your headphones, shut your office door, or maybe get in your car, go for a ride, do whatever it takes that you have to do so that you can listen to this program in its entirety. You are not going to want to miss a single second. Let's get after it. So first, before we get too far on today's program, if you want to be part of today's program, there are a few ways that you can do so. This show is being brought to you by IBGR Radio, the International Business Growth Radio. So let's start there. If you go to the website, ibgr.network, you will find that there is a flashing yellow question mark in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. If you click on that icon, that little flashing question mark, you can interact with me or any other host on the IBGR network. Also, we are currently streaming live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube right this second. So if you would like to watch and listen and see what it is I look like, then the easiest thing to do, because each one of these channels have a different sub-name for me for some reason, the best thing to do is go to my host website, ralphpeterson.com. If you scroll all the way to the bottom of the page, on the left-hand corner, there is a block of social media icons. Click which one you want to watch me on. Again, either YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. Click on one of those. It'll bring you right to one of those channels. And you'll be able to see me, and you can ask questions. You can make comments. You could even share this show with your friends. Now, imagine selecting the share button and having your friends watch or listen to this show as well. I would be most gracious. Thank you so much if you want to do that. So the next thing I want to say is IBGR also has a bunch of social media channels as well. And they too are streaming live. So they're constantly sharing shows with their social media networks. And so you can find them all at ibgr.network. So if you go to any social media platform and just type in IBGR, you are bound and determined to run right into the International Business Growth Radio. By the way, did you know that IBGR is the #1 place to listen and learn all about business growth and development? This is for business owners by business owners. That's right. We are a business talk radio program for business owners by business owners. And not only that, but one of the most exciting things about this program, about this entire network, the IBGR network, is that we are broadcasting in more than 150 countries all around the world. And we are growing like crazy. It is so exciting to be part of this network. It is so exciting to be on the air with you. It's so exciting to be internationally on the air in more than 150 countries right this second. It's very exciting. One small, tiny little programming note. We will be moving our show. Right now it's at 2 p.m., at 2 p.m. till 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in America. It is going to be moving next week, next Tuesday, the 3rd of November. We're going to be falling back an hour. We're going to be following the daylight savings time, which, if you don't know, actually it changes on Saturday the 1st. So Saturday the 1st is when we are changing our clocks back. You lose an hour. Fall back in the fall. You lose an hour, or you gain an hour. You gain an hour, but you fall back. That's on the 1st of November, and on the 3rd, our first show going forward is going to be at 1 p.m. So from 1 to 2 instead of 2 to 3. Make sure you put it in your calendars, write it down, tell your friends, let everyone know what time they can expect the show, and we will still go on. The biggest news of the day, the biggest news of the week, biggest news of the summer. I know summer's over, but here's the thing. 2020 has been a challenge for a lot of people, and it's been a challenge for me just like it's been for anyone else. But I have, not to brag too much about how good of a year 2020 has been for me, since so many people have not had a good year. I'm not doing that. I just simply want to say that my 4th book just came out, and I could not be more excited about this book. This is the capstone. If you've seen me speak, if you've gone to one of my conferences, if you've gone to one of my workshops, you've attended, you've listened to me on other podcasts, other radio programs, you've read, you get my weekly newsletter perhaps. This is a culmination of all of those things, all the things I talk about in leadership and operational management and how to get things done is all packed into this book. I'm so proud of it. I can't wait for you to read it. Go to Amazon. It's on Amazon. It's on Kindle. It will be available where books are sold everywhere by the end of today, I'm sure. It's supposed to be up there already, but I didn't have time to check, so I'm sure it is already. You should be able to go to Barnes & Nobles or go to any bookstore and ask for it, and they should be able to get it for you. In addition, I read the book as an Audible, and it's funny that this is my 4th book, and there's only one other book that I read, and the other book that I read was my diet book called Adventures in Dietland, and the reason that I read that book as an Audible tape is because I thought because it's a diet book, it's kind of like a lessons learned. I used to weigh 350 pounds. I used to be this really massive man. And I learned how to take off all the weight. And it was my idea that it would be a great Audible book to listen to while you were walking, right? So it made sense to make a diet book into an Audible book. But then my last book called Congratulations, Now Get Over Yourself, I was trying to get my management team to read that. And a bunch of my managers were like, we're not readers. You should put this into an Audible book. And I was like, all right. So maybe that makes it a little more palatable for some to get the message out. And so I did record it as an Audible book, which is just as fantastic, maybe even a little more fantastic. Who knows? That should be up on Audible very, very soon. It takes like 3 weeks for them to go through it, and it's been a couple already. So that should be up and running before you know it. And that's going to be another big thing. So look for it on Audible. In the meantime, go to Amazon, go to Kindle, go to Barnes & Noble, go to your local bookstore. Oh my gosh, there is a big headline news here in New York City. One of the most famous bookstores is saying that I think, I'm going to use the word saying, but it seems like the connotation is more threatening. Like they're threatening that if the current climate doesn't change and businesses start operating on normal schedule, then this 100-year-old bookstore is going to close for good. I've also heard of movie theaters and play theaters, actual theaters closing for good. They just there's no way we can continue paying rent. The theater has been one of the hardest hit industries during this pandemic. And so if you still have a local bookstore, and I hope you do, go to your local bookstore, get the book from them. They can get it just as quick as you can get it from one of these online platforms. Your bookstore can get it just as fast, and you're throwing a couple of dollars in their pocket, which is super important when we're talking about your neighbors, right? Because everybody who owns businesses around me are my neighbors, and I'm sure it's the same with you. Now, if you have been a regular listener to this show, then you know that this is all about business operations. I own and operate a management services company, and the topics and ideas that we discuss on this show are the same topics and ideas that I discuss with my team on a daily basis. And that is, we are always questioning. We're always trying to dig in. We're always trying to find out, how do we get better? How can we get things better? How can we move the supply chain faster? How can we create things faster? How can we ensure things are being done better? You know what's odd about that too? Because I have a stack of stuff, a stack of news items that I would love to just share with you that I've been reading over the past couple of days about business and the news. And one of the things that has really been kind of stuck in my craw is the notion that from a business point of view, from a operational point of view, the whole idea of business operations, the whole idea of studying job flows and work assignments and product development from the beginning to the end, like I have a friend who's always touting their shirts are from dirt to shirt, right? So from the cotton being grown until to the packaging of the actual shirt being delivered to the customer. The reason that you study, the reason any of us business operators, the reason that we study this chain, that we look from the beginning and the end and we try to find all these efficiencies, is to do one thing, and that is to lower the cost of the product and to improve the product, of course. So we're doing those simultaneously, where we want the product to come out better, we want it to be made faster, and we want it to be made cheaper. The problem is, it seems like that last piece, that products, the better companies become, the way that it's supposed to be, or at least the way that I was taught about it by the great Mikhail Maloka. Mikhail Maloka, he went and ran for president, I think, of Nigeria, and he was my economics professor at Campbell University. One of the most brilliant men I've ever met on economics. Of course, I was just a young kid in college, but I mean, he just had such an impact on me. His wedding ring was ivory, like it was carved out ivory, which I recognize as politically incorrect, but it was pretty cool to see this guy with a bone ivory wedding ring from Nigeria. And then after the semester that he worked with us, he taught us at Campbell University, he went and ran for president or something somewhere. It was pretty great. He said the whole idea of manufacturing and technology and drilling down is to make products cheaper, not more expensive, cheaper. And it's always stuck with me because, you're looking at the news today, the wages are increasing here, the wages are increasing there, the costs are going up over here, the costs are going up there. And I'm thinking, well, what are we doing if the costs are going up? It's supposed to be going the other way. It's supposed to be going the other way. We're going to get back right into the operational side of things in just a minute. Don't go anywhere. I did not have my trusty microphone plugged in the whole time, so I only had my rookie mistake. I only had my here we go. You guys doing okay in there? Okay. I only had my Bill. How are we sounding? Yeah. It didn't sound the best because I didn't have my microphone plugged in. I was just using my speakers or my built-in microphone on my Mac, which is a terrible rookie mistake. And so 2:14:30 is the time. 2:15, 2:17, 30. Well, if one of us was a little more organized, I know that we'd have this worked out a little more. 12 is 14 is 15, 2, 17, 30. Okay, so 2, 17, 30 is when we're going live. I don't know, India. I can't see anything. No. If I coming through load all right, Bill says I'm sounding fine. Hopefully I'm sounding better with the microphone. Here we're at 16:10. We are doing fine. We are doing fine. India is checking in, letting me know what's going on. We are talking up a storm. I'm way ahead, behind. Oh, I have my trusty hat. I'm so excited. Oh, thank you, Jonathan. My brother. I didn't realize I could see your post over there. That's awesome. Thank you, sir. And we are back. Welcome back to the Ralph Peterson radio program. If you're just joining us, I don't know what the heck it is you've been doing with your life. Get back, sit down, strap it in. Let's go. If we're here with the first segment, you know that I'm just rambling on and on and on. But again, if you would like to be part of today's program, there are still a few ways you can do so. First of all, I'm using a new program called StreamYard, and so I didn't realize it's making it so that we can publish live on Facebook, we're live on YouTube, and we're live on Twitter. What I didn't realize is that I can, because I'm looking at the StreamYard program, I can actually see your text. So if you want to write in, if you want to ask questions or comments, you can do so, and I can actually read them. Whereas before, I was trying to see them on my phone while I was doing it. It was a mess before, but now it seems to be an awful lot better. I had one person tell me that, asked me what kind of coffee I'm drinking. Listen, actually today, right now, I'm drinking what they call Jingle Java. Yesterday, I was in a Christmas sweater, so Jingle Java, Christmas time. It's my favorite time of the year. Halloween's coming up. I mean, a couple of days. Oh, I have candy corn. I might have a small addiction to candy corn. If you would like to be part of today's show, you can do so. You can do so by going to ibgr.network. That is the website of the International Business Growth Radio. And from there, you can listen to the show. There's a yellow question mark, a flashing yellow question mark at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. If you click on that icon, you can interact with me or any other host during their show. This is an interactive icon that we use for all the shows throughout our daily programming. And of course, as I just said, we are still live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And just as a heads up, it is on Facebook, it is the Ralph Peterson, and on Twitter, it is Ralph Peterson 08. And I think on YouTube, it's also Ralph Peterson 08, but I'm going to have to ask my lovely assistant, India, to let me know exactly what that is. India, will you put it in the comments for me, in the notes, chats for me, so I can figure out what the YouTube channel is? Otherwise, you can just go to ralphpeterson.com, scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you'll see all of the icons for all of my social media icons on ralphpeterson.com. While we were at a little bit of a break, I was just going through, and there's just a couple of things that I think are noteworthy, especially when it comes to business operations in the news. And the first thing is, oh my, New York City entrepreneurs, of which I am one of hundreds of thousands, are moving to places like Texas, Florida, and Tennessee at an alarming rate. They say 52% of the national average of people have moved out of New York City during the pandemic. 52%. And the number one place that everyone is moving to, if you don't know, South Florida, Pebble Beach, more specifically. South Florida, Pebble Beach, Florida is the number one destination for New York City entrepreneurs, but they're also going to places like Texas and Tennessee. And there's three reasons. And there are three simple reasons on why people are reporting why they are moving to these three other states and leaving New York City. And it's eye-opening. It's eye-opening because it is the very same three reasons on why I became an entrepreneur. Well, the first one is because of taxes. The second one is kind of because of regulations. Those are the first two reasons. And the third reason is because of quality of life. And the reason I became an entrepreneur, the reason I wanted to own my own business was because I wanted to have an increased quality of life, because I wanted to take control of my own destiny, because I had an idea that I thought would work. And I think that it's so great that when they ask these entrepreneurs who are leaving New York City in droves why they were leaving, their top three reasons are taxes, got to get out of this high tax state. And I'll tell you what, taxes in 2020 in New York City are nothing compared to what they're going to be in 2021. I mean, now is the time to leave. Holy moly. Regulation. I mean, where everything is closed down around here, and quality of life. It is, I mean, you guys have watched the news. You've seen the clashes. You know that it is a trying time for these big cities all across America. And so quality of life is a big one. The next biggest move out of an area is San Francisco. San Francisco has had 128% more people move out than the national average in the month of September. Just a month of September, 128% above the national average. That is crazy. And then you have that on one side, and then you have this great news story that a single Ohio mom has achieved her dream of launching her boutique, a boutique online store where she sells t-shirts, earrings, and masks that she makes from her home. She loses her job because of the coronavirus pandemic. She probably moped around in her pajamas for about 7 or 8 days. And then she said, you know what? Good. I'm happy. You know, I got to tell you, that attitude, there was a time not very long ago. It happened to me too. Like when I finally got the ability to quit my job and start on my own. I mean, I was longing to get terminated because I didn't have the guts to go out on my own by myself, but I eventually did and didn't get terminated. But I did have to terminate a person earlier last year. And when we sat down in the office, I said, I'm going to have to make today your last day. Her first words were, "Oh, thank God." And, you know, it was so, she wasn't being malicious over it. She just simply, you know, the job was bigger than she was, and it was a lot of weight on her shoulders, and she just, oh, thank God. Oh, thank God. Thank God I'm going to get out of here and do something else. That's pretty fantastic. So let's move on to quality improvement. The whole topic for today's show is all about quality improvement. And that is, here's a quick question. Here's a question that we're always having to ask. And that is, how does your management team, or how do you lead your organization? How do you manage the day-to-day operations? And I got to tell you, I work with an awful lot of companies that, look, I went to Party City, and for those of you who are on a social media channel watching me live, you'll see I just put on a fantastic, this thing is really, really great, a fantastic fireman's hat, because it's Halloween and you can go to Party City and get any kind of costume you want. And I was like, I'm going to go get one of these plastic fireman's hat, because these things, you would not believe it. I work in healthcare mostly, and you would not think that there are any firemen who work in healthcare, but I'm telling you, most of the people I work in the healthcare act like firemen. That is, they start the day with no plan, none. They're like, I say, hey, what are you going to do today? And they're like, I don't know. I haven't seen where the fire is yet. I haven't looked to see where the problems are yet. And so they come at their whole operational workflow is to go into the facility, see what is wrong, and then address whatever the hottest fire is. If there's a couple of smoldering embers, we'll get to them. But not until they turn into an actual fire will we start trying to figure out which ones to put up, to address or put out. And you know what struck me the most about this is I was meeting with a long-term care administrator last week, and I'm in the administrator's office, and we're talking over some operational things. And a manager came and just popped his head in, and he asked the administrator what they wanted him to work on next. Imagine that for a second. A manager pops the head into the administrator's office. And for those of you who are not familiar with what an administrator is in a long-term care facility, the administrator is basically the CEO of the building. So they are the top person. They are the person in charge of the entire building, the entire nursing home. One of their managers is popping their head in the middle of the day to say, now what, boss? Now what would you like me to do? And it kind of just had me sit back and go, wait a minute. If you are having the administrator dictate what you do throughout the day, then you are, my friend, a high-paid worker. You're a high-paid employee. You are not managing anything. You're not managing anything. All you are doing is asking the administrator where the fire is. Oh, where's the fire? I heard that there was some smoke up on this floor. There's a little bit of fire up on that unit. But if you know of a bigger fire, I'll go put that one out instead. And it's indicative to what is how you go about managing or leading an organization backwards. Don't treat your organization like a fire, like you're a fireman and you're just looking for the hottest fire to put out. That is the wrong way to look at and address your facility. Matter of fact, that's what we call reactive. You never find, well, you know what? That's not even true. I was going to say you never find a fireman going in and doing pre-op work before a fire occurs, because they don't know where fires are going to occur. So they just stand by, they wait, they do 72 hours on or something, like 3 days on, 3 days off, or 4 days on, 24-hour shifts. And all they do is they live in a firehouse waiting for something to catch on fire. That's not your job. It's not your job as a manager. Your job is not to hang around the break room or hang around in your office sitting on Facebook, unless you're watching the Ralph Peterson radio show, of course, and wait for somebody to tell you there's a fire in the other room. You got to be far more proactive than that. And more than that, more than just proactive on how you go about your day-to-day operations. But we have to figure out how to create an environment for success. How do you communicate with your employees? How do you engage with your employees? And then to be all encompassing, and as again, if you've been listening to this show regularly, you know that I'm after one single question. And the question I'm after is, how do you know? How do you know it's working? How do you know what you're doing right now is leading towards you having a better operation? Because that is the goal, a better operation, a better, tighter, cheaper, faster operation. How do you know what you're doing is working? That is the crux of all of it. So first we'll go through how we're doing it, what we're doing, and then we're going to figure out how it is we know what we're doing. Okay, how did we do that time? Better? We'll see. India, we're still good? India, if you could tell me what is the YouTube login, please? Not login. How do people find us? Not login. What is it called? ID, name, whatever. to 3230. Oh, good. Thank you, India. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Ralph Peterson Radio Show. We are so excited to have you. We are in the bottom of the hour. We only have 2 fast-moving segments left. If you would like to be part of today's show, we are being brought to you by IBGR Network, which is the Profit Radio. Please go to ibgr.network and support us. Join the team. Go to our commerce. Can't remember the name of it, something commerce. You can just go there and purchase our podcast. If you want to listen to past shows, they are all there. If you want to listen to past episodes of this show, it is on ibgr.network. Again, you can go to ralphpeterson.com to sign up for the weekly newsletter. You can please, if I put it somewhere, buy the book, The Good Manager, because being great is overrated. And I don't mean that as a fun little term. I mean, being good is much better than being great. So if something bad happens to people who think they are great, and something wonderful happens to those of us who just think we're still pretty good. You know what happens? When those of us think we're still pretty good, you know what we keep doing? We still trying to keep getting better. Those who think we're great, you know what they start doing? They stop trying at all. They're already the greatest, and it leads to ruin. Buy this book. If you have a manager that you're not sure about, you don't think they're cutting weight, you don't think that they're doing well, buy them this book. Don't get rid of them. Buy them this book first. Give them the opportunity to learn what it takes to be a good manager before you let them go. And if you are a manager, or you want to be a manager, or you're just about to take a leadership position and you're wondering if you can do it, and you're wondering what it's going to take, and you're wondering if you know enough, here's the answer. Find out. Buy this book. Read this book, The Good Manager. Being Great is Overrated. This book will change your whole perspective on what it takes to manage. And by the way, the best part about this book, and I'll show the audience for those who are watching on YouTube or on Facebook or on Twitter, the last page is a detachable piece of trash. That's right. You can rip out the last page. It is a piece of trash, because how do I train managers? I train managers all starting with a piece of trash. If you can manage a piece of trash, you can manage in any environment. I guarantee it. Money back guarantee, by the way, on that. I'm not going to charge you anything for the piece of paper or the trash. And so the money back is $0, but I'm offering a money back guarantee nonetheless. How does your management team lead your organization? This is so super important of a question. What time do you start, and what do you do first when you get into your organization? I know a lot of people who start their day hours after their operation has already begun. And so the first thing they do when they get in, whether they like it or not, is they have to throw on their fireman's hat. That's right, I'm throwing on my fireman's hat again. They have to throw on their fireman's hat, and they have to try to figure out how to solve issues that have already occurred. If you're showing up 2 hours, 3 hours, 1 hour after your operation has started, after your staff has started, and you're wondering where all your time goes, and you're going to realize you're probably spending the first hour or two when you get there trying to make up for the hour or two that you missed while your organization was already being run. So I am a huge fan of managers starting with their team. If your team starts at 7, guess what? You should start at 7. If your management team starts at 5, you should start at 5. If your team starts at 8, you should start at 8. One of the greatest things, and I know that Dunkin Donuts right now, if you're paying attention at all, Dunkin Donuts is a East Coast coffee company. It's been really, really big. And I'm from the East Coast, and we grew up with, Time to Make the Donuts guy, and it's been a wonderful, wonderful coffee place. And they're currently up for sale right now. So who knows? I'm sure they'll keep the branding and the name and all that, but they are up for sale for another company. But Dunkin Donuts, I have a friend of mine who used to be a district manager for Dunkin Donuts. And talk about an unbelievable organization, especially from how do you manage the day-to-day operations. These guys have it going on. Their corporate office opens at 5 a.m. Their corporate office opens at 5 a.m. That means the receptionists start work at 5 a.m. The CFO starts work at 5 a.m. The accountants start work at 5 a.m. The HR department starts at 5 a.m. The CEO starts at 5 a.m. Shipping starts at 5 a.m. Receiving starts at 5 a.m. Everybody across the board in that company starts at 5 a.m. And here's the reason. Because they know that their owners and operators, the people who own their Dunkin' Donuts franchisees, they start at 5 a.m. And they need to be available for those franchisees to answer questions to help them get their business up and running on a constant basis. And so they start with their team. It makes so much sense, but that's not enough. Starting with your team isn't enough. I have this whole thing where I'm constantly trying to get my managers to have a 5-minute huddle. Imagine going into work and meeting your team. You know where I see this a lot? I've seen this a bunch of times at two places. One is Home Depot and the other is at Costco. Those two companies, at least I've seen them, I've witnessed when they open their doors, there is a management meeting going on right as they open for the day. So they've started the meeting 5 minutes beforehand with their management team or their associates, and they're having a 5-minute huddle. And I seen with Costco, I mean, they're chanting a song, they're having a great time. And then with Home Depot, I didn't see them chanting any songs at Home Depot or having a great time, but it's still so super important. Can you imagine if you're going to lead your organization like this? So the question is, how do you lead your organization? Imagine if when you got to work, first of all, you got there when your team got there. You started when everybody else starts. And then you go around the room. You just kind of have a 5-minute check-in with everybody. You can go over what the mission for the day is, what our concerns are, what our worries are, what our big projects are, if there's anything missing. But also there's that human element. We could talk about the weather. We could talk about the upcoming holiday. Halloween's coming up this week, and everybody's having the big discussion is whether or not to buy candy. The big discussion. I have friends who have for years and years loved buying candy, greeting the kids at the front door, and taking pictures and doing the whole 9 yards with the neighborhood kids. It's so fun. And then this year they're like, yeah, we're going to just shut the door, shut all the lights off, and pretend we're not home because we're in a different time, right? Because now everybody's trying to pretend that Halloween's not going to happen this year. So it's a big question. So what are you doing for Halloween this year? What's going on? What's the weather like? If you take 5 minutes with your team and you do this quick check-in with everybody, you can disseminate work. You can proactively handle problems. You can handle staff shortages. You can ask for requests. You can ask for help from your team. You can get everybody on the same page. One of the most important things to keep in mind is, as a manager, as the operator, as a business owner, it is up to us. It is up to us to dictate the tone of the day. And imagine not taking that opportunity at 7 a.m. or at 8 a.m. or whenever time you're supposed to be starting with your staff. Imagine not taking that opportunity. Imagine that you have one of your ace employees gets cut off in the parking lot of your operation. They get cut off, and 2 minutes before they got cut off, they were in the best mood. They're having the greatest day. But then they pull into the parking lot and some jerk comes and cuts them off. And so now they come in the door and they're in a foul mood. And you don't greet them. You don't go in and say, hey, how is everything? Let them maybe complain about what just happened, maybe commiserate with them a little bit, but get them smiling, get them on the right path, get them back thinking positively about the day. You lose that opportunity if you don't do that. And it's so important that you don't let some jerk in the parking lot dictate the attitudes of your best workers because they're being a maniac in the parking lot. It's just so super important. I can't stress it enough. So then you're taking this 5 minutes and you're going around the room, you're deciding what it is you're going to be doing for this day. And then what do? You wait until the next day? I know a lot of people will have a morning meeting. They'll have a morning meeting, usually at 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning, and only the department heads, and they'll go over what their operation is. They'll go over some of their concerns. They'll go over some issues. They'll go over staffing, and then they'll see everybody again tomorrow. Well, friends, if you were having a meeting in the morning and then not taking time to meet with your team or follow up with your team before the end of the day, how many things are not getting done? That's not the best way to lead your organization. I'm telling you from experience, the best thing you can do is to continually check in. The best thing you can do. Now you can't, I'm not suggesting that you manage by meeting either. I am not suggesting that you have meeting after meeting after meeting. Nobody has time for 8 meetings a day. Nobody does. But quick check-ins, either you on your feet, checking in with your managers and your staff, or everybody coming for a quick check-in with you at a specific time makes a world of difference. I can't tell you how much of a difference it would make. If you start the day, say, hey, good morning. How is everything? This is what our plan for the day is. And then at the end of the day, you say, hey, how did everything go today? What did we miss? What did we do well on? What could we have gotten better on? What's going to be the focus for tomorrow morning? Because God forbid, if I get run over by a bicycle on my way to work tomorrow morning, wouldn't it be really great if we already talked as a team the night before about what our goals are for today? So if I am held up because I got hit by a bicycle, I still can, my team can work without me. Wouldn't that be fantastic? In the military, I was in the Marine Corps, and they used to be a real big problem, and they called it this whole idea. It was this whole idea about information grabbing, where people would take the information. Oh, we're going to have a meeting at 11:30 in the morning. Like, oh, okay. And one person would know that. And so they'd tell their team, we're having a meeting at 11, be here at 11. And then one person would find that out and they'd tell their team, hey, we're going to have a meeting today. So meet here at 10:30. And then somebody else would find out and go to their team and go, hey, we're having a meeting today. So meet here at 10. And then one of those people gets run over by a bicycle. And then you'll find a whole team sitting by a water fountain at 10 o'clock in the morning going, what are you doing here? And everybody goes, I don't know. We don't know. Nobody's sharing information. That's bad, not good. It's the opposite of good. Having this meeting, the opening meeting and the closing meeting are essential. But here's the thing. What if you had a meeting in the beginning of the day, a meeting at the end of the day, and you had a meeting in the middle of the day? Now, how effective would you be? You'd be on fire. It'd be amazing. I don't know. I keep, hello, Bill. Is it going better this time? Better? I wonder, I'm watching the clock. For those of you who are watching and listening on the social media channels, hello. And my sister just said I look like my mother. Thank you. My mother's quite beautiful. How dare you? So she just threw me off my game. I'm doing a live radio show while I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn and all that stuff. But I'm not telling you I'm going to a break. And I guess that's my question. Should I be saying, and we're going to go to a break, or should I just go to the music? I don't know. How is it sounding on your end, India? You got to let me know. Is that the last thing you said? Amazing. Yes. I know Bill is saying that perhaps I should be telling people that I'm going on a break because otherwise he doesn't know that I'm going on a break. All right. You live and learn, my friend. It's working. Sure. So 4630. Oh, good Lord. Thank you, India. Thank you, Kathleen. And we are back, the Ralph Peterson Radio Show. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. We have a very quick 15 minutes to go, and we're going to try to get an awful lot in on this part of it. Again, this show is brought to you by IBGR.network. Go to IBGR.network for all the past shows. This is a business radio program that is brought to you by business owners for business owners. And so I thank you so much for being here. I have another little quick thing about the news today. There's a couple more stories I wanted to just get into real quick. One of them is, these are fun back-to-back stories. So first of all, the news out there is that the coronavirus is going to have a major impact on holiday spending. And they're saying it's going to be a 4-year low. Spending is going to be a 4-year low on gift giving. So nobody is going to be giving gifts, apparently, during the holiday season. And who knows why that is. I'll tell you what, that's not for me. I can't wait. My wife and I got one of those, and maybe you get these too. We got one of those magazines where, like they have the candies, the chocolate chip, the chocolate dipped pretzels, the 3 tin popcorn. They have these 3 different banana breads and cranberry bread and whatever. And we got one of these catalogs, and she's looking through it, and I was like, that'd be nice to send. It's Christmas gifts because we're not going anywhere, social distancing and all that. And so it'd be nice to just send to some friends and some family members. And she quickly says, just to make sure that they're good, we should order ourselves some first. God, I love the holidays. Anyway, so first, holiday spending is down. And then I see this piece of news, which I just think is so fantastic. I didn't even know this was a thing. And apparently it's been a thing for a while. Walmart has exclusively nabbed the KFC's coveted chicken-scented fire logs. That's right. You can go to Walmart starting this Monday, kicks off this Monday, where you can buy fried chicken-scented fire logs for your fireplace. I have no idea. I'm going to Walmart. I have got to try one of these. I fear it's just going to make me hungry. So I don't know how it's going to. I don't know how it's going to fare. And the other thing I want to bring up is Hasbro. And I talked about this the other day when I was doing my lead-in for the show. Hasbro has reported this record high number. Their closings for the third quarter has been off the charts because apparently there's been an awful lot of families out there buying board games. And I remember growing up playing, all we did was play board games. And it is such a fond memory for me. And, it's one of those nostalgic things that you think only happened in the 70s and the 80s. And it's no longer when you have so many social media channels and Netflix and Hulu and Amazon and Tinder, TikTok and Facebook and all that stuff, that people just aren't doing the family game night anymore. And Hasbro comes out, and it just makes me so happy to hear and to see that it's actually families are splurging big time during the pandemic on board games. And so I would say 2 things. Number one, that could not be a better Christmas present or a holiday present. Sending family and friends board games, some of your favorite board games. I think that if you're looking for a holiday idea, that sounds like a fantastic idea. And I also want to give a quick little shout out to my friend. One of my best friends' name is Carrie Winger. and she owns you got to hear this. I don't know if you've ever heard of this thing, but there are cafes that have board games where you just go in with your friends or your family and you can just hang out and play board games. Like any board game you want. I mean, she has thousands of board games. It's amazing. It's called the Boardroom Cafe. It's in Burlington, Vermont. So if you're in Vermont, look up the Boardroom Cafe, and you can, I think it's like the Boardroom Vermont or Boardroom VT on Facebook. I think it's the Boardroom Cafe VT on Facebook. Carrie Winger, she's a great host. She knows how to play 8 million games. She'll teach you how to play them. They're doing social distancing right. There's food, there's beverages. They're on Mill Street in Burlington, and I can't give them high enough praise. If you don't own board games, if you want to get out of the house and still take your family to a friendly place and play board games, the Boardroom Cafe in Burlington, Vermont is the place to go. Now, we don't have a lot of time left. So I left you with the idea of operational management and about the idea of having a 5-minute meeting in the beginning of the day and a 5-minute meeting at the end of the day. But I'm going to ask you to consider adding one more. That whole idea of having that middle meeting, that middle check-in. And it can be done one-on-one, or it can be done with your whole team. It depends on if your team is interchange. If it takes the team to work on problems, if you have problems that everybody has to work on together, then I suggest everybody come together. But if it's all piecemeal and you can just meet one-on-one with your team, then do it one-on-one. But having that, what I say, a 1:00 meeting. So I'm a 7:00 meeting, 5 minutes. We go around the room. I dictate the attitude. I'm always happy, giving people candy, trying to get everybody to smile for the day, getting them focused on what's important for the day. Imagine having that at 1:00 where it's just another 5 minutes. You're not wasting people's time. Another 5 minutes, bringing your team together once again and saying, hey, how are we doing? This is what we thought was going to happen. What did actually happen? This is what we intended. This is what the result was. And then be able to shift or move or refocus our attention and resources so that we can continue with the manager's intent, the operator's intent for the day. And then at the end of the day, another quick little check-in. How is everybody doing? And one of the administrators that I know that does it the best, that end of the day check-in, is everybody goes to her office at the end of the day. So that's a one-on-one thing where she has a morning meeting with all her managers at 7 a.m. And then she has a meeting with all her managers or individually at 1 p.m., depending on the day and what they're doing. But then at the 4:00 time or 3:30 time, every manager is expected to stop by her office on the way out the door. So expected. That means you don't just go home. You don't just punch out and go home. You go to her office and say, I'm done for the day. These are the things that we were working on. This is what we're going to be doing tomorrow. This is what we accomplished today. These are some of the issues we had. I mean, talk about full circle operations, right? When we're talking about how do you manage how do you lead an organization? That's how you do it. That is how you do it. You do it by proactively being with your team when your team is there, being open to your team's ideas, meeting with them, putting a sense of urgency on the plans, having them all work together, having them all brainstorm together, not shooting anybody down, dictating how everybody is supposed to be, dictating how the energy of the day by, I'm a big candy fan. I'm a big fan of getting people to smile by offering them candy. By the way, I just tried, I don't know if you're a pumpkin fan at all, but this time of the year, everything comes out pumpkin. I just tried pumpkin Kit Kats, and I didn't think I was going to like them. I do. So that's a thing. It's another thing I'm going to have to avoid going forward is pumpkin flavored Kit Kats because, all right, I'll be honest. I don't know that there's any candy I haven't liked ever in my life. So there's that. That's something I'm wrestling with. The next thing that I want to talk to you real quickly about is how do you know it is working? So if we got the operation, we're saying, okay, we're meeting in the morning, we're meeting in the afternoon, and we're meeting in the evening, and right before everybody leaves, how would you know it's working? How would you evaluate and improve your method for your day-to-day operations? It's a simple question, but it's an important one because there are a lot of times where we're having meetings day in and day out, that have nothing to do with anything. They don't accomplish anything. It reminds me of a squirrel. I don't know if you know this, but a squirrel spends 90% of its life working. And the number one thing it works on is food preparation, is collecting food. The number one thing a squirrel does is try to find and store food for the winter. 80%, 90% of its life is working. 80% of that time, it is looking for, collecting, and storing food. Here's the thing about squirrels. They only find of all the things that they find and bury for winter, all the food they find and bury for winter, they can only find 20% of them when it comes time to eat. Only 20%. That means 80% of their life's productivity is for nothing. It gets them nowhere. It gets them no closer to their goal of being able to eat all winter. 20% of the time. That is what can happen to meetings. That can happen to well-intentioned meetings if you don't have a way to measure and evaluate and improve your method for managing your day-to-day operations. How do you know it works? I'm going to give you a very simple, quick, down and dirty way of figuring it out. That is a very simple check and balance. You start the beginning of the week with these are the 10 things. These are the 5 things. These are the 11 things that we are doing this week. And at the end of the week, you go, these were all accomplished, or they weren't accomplished. They were accomplished or they weren't accomplished. You were able to talk to everybody. You weren't able to talk to everybody. You did all the room changes. You didn't do all the room changes. This little check and balance is important for you and your team. A couple of weeks ago, we discussed working with knowledge people is like. This is a knowledge-based environment, knowledge-based workforce, meaning that they don't have to work for you. Nobody has to work for you. The only reason why people are working for you is because they want to. So you have to give them something to want to. And how you do that is by sharing with them the results, showing them that their work matters and what they're doing is working. That's how you get everybody engaged. I have been so excited for today. I couldn't wait to be on the air today. And as soon as I am off the air in less than a minute, I am going to be super excited about getting on the air again next week. And again, remember a little bit of tip. It is at 1 p.m. next week, not 2 p.m. going forward. And please, please, please tell your friends, your family, even your enemies about this great, fantastic book called The Good Manager. Being Great is Overrated. I appreciate all your support. Everybody who is watching me live on these various channels, thank you guys so much for coming out and helping me have a little bit of an audience here, because it is fun to see people while I am trying to do a radio program. It makes it a little more fun. And thank you to IBGR.network, the Profit Radio, and for everything you guys are doing out there. Keep working. It is worth it. You are worth it. I'll see you guys later. And that's it for me. Thank you guys so much for everything. Yes, Bill is giving me a hard time for telling my enemies. Everyone has enemies, Bill. Thank you, Jonathan. I appreciate that, brother. All right, my friends, I am out. India, thank you so much. How do I end this broadcast? Here we go. Boom.